Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting.
Q&A episode.
This will be a Q&A episode.
Mhm.
And today we are recording this on the 22nd of December, 2021. And we want to thank everyone for sending in all of these very interesting questions. We hope you get a lot to it. We're going to try our best not to let this go too far over time. But honestly, it's pretty long, so we'll do our best. And so again, thank you, everybody. Thank you for those who also support us on Patreon. We want to always acknowledge those people where sometimes we have a little bit more personalized discussions on our feelings about things. So, but again, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So affirmation and blessing wise, really just blessings to everyone that is here. We hope you open your hearts to listen to some of these questions and answers and discern whether or not any of it fits into your current belief system or not. And blessings to all of you. So we'll get right with it. So question number one says, whoa, did Enki just say that the backstage is basically real? I already knew this here was an illusion, but that place is not.
Yeah, this was an older question I found on the YouTube. See, I've been cleaning out a lot of messages. I've been cleaning out the emails. I've been finding old things that have been in the emails that were unknown to me at the time. So this was Isaac blazed through a lot of these questions. So let me see here. He said, Isaac here to state for the record that there are multiple bubbles, timelines, and skews of time at the disposal of the military cabal, as well as Enki himself. And I can tell you, they all collapse in the end, meaning if a timeline is not stable or has been created in haste, it can fall apart and merge with this one. Time travel has caused a bit of this fracturing of altering of time, fracturing states of time, and is on the mend. But has the SSP ended for good? No. It is just changing shape. All of these altered states of time are indeed illusions. Next question, please. Meaning that it's basically what he was saying was it was a collapsing bubble of time that is no longer stable for them to use, is what he was trying to say. And is Enki in one of those instabilities? Yes, that's what he was trying to say with that. He kind of seemed all over the place, but it made sense there. So
it says, I'm super curious how a good guy like Isaac can work on military bases and not be involved in nefarious crap. I'm right there with you. And I would say good guy in quotes because it ain't always true. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Maybe he's just a regular Joe on the low end of the totem pole.
This is actually interesting. Hello, my dear. Isaac here to tell you a few things about what I am and have been involved with in the bases and projects. I will say that, yes, I have been involved in some nefarious shit, from installing programming to monitoring SSP personalities on board Martian German spaceships. But I had my brother Thorsden made sure that what was installed in people had a flaw where others would have installed the full Monty of programs, false purposes, and life soul missions to that of murder programs, as well as self-harm tendencies and programs. It has not been easy to be a part of the world of dumbs, but there is an alternative that is much, much worse. Not gloating, just saying. Next.
And he didn't mean dumb people.
Dumbs means deep underground military bases, folks. That's what dumb stands for.
Yeah, we're not talking about the people. He's talking actually being in there, involved in the projects, which, there are people that are benevolent, malevolent, and somewhere in between that, basically will either run someone else's agenda or they have their own. And sometimes some of their own really is from their own perspective. And again, so some of the things they do can seem on both sides.
Yes, it can seem like they're playing both sides against the middle. What he also compared it to was basically like in the Star Wars movie Rogue One, where the scientists put the flaw in the Death Star, sort of type of thing. Whereas, the rebellion wouldn't have been able to defeat it if it had not had the flaw. Because by the time the flaw was seen, it couldn't be corrected. It was too far along. The project was too far along. So that's basically what was seen. I believe they know he's added these things, these loopholes to get out of certain programming, but at the same time, they can't do squat about it. So it's essentially they need him essentially, but he's added these flaws. It's essentially the same concept as the one in Star Wars.
But it's always wise to always take a lot of this with, I wonder what his
agenda. To ponder this, yes.
I wonder what his agenda is and how will this turn out for me? Okay, so be wise. And again, you have to understand it may not be all benevolent, may not be all malevolent, could be falling somewhere. And, be wise about that when you have these conversations or meet these beings and understand it may be a little bit more complicated than your mind would want to make it be. So anyway, next question. They would like to talk about the nature of trauma. Is there a function to...
Right there.
I skipped. You moved it up. Sorry. I didn't realize you moved it up. Sorry. Let me go to the question before. It says, I have questions about our devices. How much damage are they doing? Really? Wi-Fi, etc.
Okay. This was another Isaac-inspired answer. Through the Wi-Fi, there is much damage being done, from organ failures to direct energy weapons to voiced skull. It can all be found within the Wi-Fi. Granted, other ways are used as well, but this one is one of the easiest since it is linked up to so very much of all of your all of you involved with in your personal and business lives. Sorry, when I do the channeling of it sometimes misspell things. But this does not mean that you need to switch the tech out, just the upper management. Wi-Fi should always be disconnected from the wall socket when you are ready to sleep and should never be in your bedroom. Next.
Okay, now we'll get to the question on trauma. Is there a function to coming into a family with so much trauma and really childhood, teenage years, adults, etc.? I feel like I'm still working on negative events from 20 years ago and it's never ending. Does anyone else struggle with this?
Okay, there we are. There is an episode that we just did recently on this very subject. It would take far too long to explain on the Q&A, but if you locate the episode entitled The Riddle of the Wheel, it would give you the answer to your questions. It's one, by the time you see this Q&A, it will have aired. It's a lifting episode called The Riddle of the Wheel, the mighty hamster wheel effect. So this is one that we recorded prior to this.
So the answer is, does anyone else struggle with this? Yes. Chris and I struggle with this. So, we all struggle with certain things. Potentially, again, you've heard us discuss before lineage curses and different things we're seeing where issues keep repeating over and over and over again amongst lineages and different issues. So the answer is yes, everyone struggles with this. There is oftentimes, again, how many times do you have to learn the same lesson? And there is overage involved and you are in a hamster wheel type of effect. However, usually if you are looking for something positive to get out of it, you will be able to find also something positive as you continue to break lineage curses and you continue a better understanding of what's going on. So you may not, again, a lot of people look for an outside source, but a lot of this starts to end as you grow from within in understanding. So you could have been on a hamster wheel, could have been on this, but right now you're gaining more of an understanding as you're reflecting on it. And that also helps break these down from occurring again. So, but watch the episode and hopefully that will give you more to think about.
All right. And go on to the next one.
It says also any info on vibrational healing or more effective ways to heal. I feel like my chakras are being blown open. It's exhausting. Is anyone else going through this or aches or pains? Is ascension sickness a real thing?
I can honestly say yes. Not ascension sickness, but the aches and pains, absolutely. So had Isaac talk about this, but I can honestly say that ascension sickness, no. There's a lot of other things going on in the solar system that this is an extremely complicated set of dynamics, but I'll read what he put. Hello, Isaac here to tell you that vibrational healing can be a wonderful and useful tool. Chris here does it each and every time he does a session. The power of sound bowls as well as tuning forks can also aid in healing. One of the most powerful forms of music is the eternal Om. If done correctly, it can literally as well as figuratively move mountains and raise the dead. So to speak, is what he's saying. Only kidding, folks. That would be necromancy, and that's just wrong. The reason for your chakras being blown open is that your real energy centers, referred to as octaves, are pushing loose a very old program and set of devices you refer to as the chakra network. Octaves are the true chakras, and the old ones are only forms of oppressive draconian technology. Chris here always sees them as a string of Christmas lights. He does quotes a lot, folks. He knows it irritates me, so he does that. When an octave opens, it pushes out what is directly in front of it, meaning your energies are actively killing the machine, so to speak, as are some of the surrounding energies. But it is mostly you, good sir. As far as the aches and pains, most of them are being caused by outwardly energies, such as oppressive devices you call mind control devices, of which they are. There is no such thing as ascension sickness, since there is no such thing as ascension. The pains you are feeling is from a form of the bends, but one not of your making. However, the more energies you let go of, this can be seen as ascending simply because you are putting down a very old weight that now your body must adjust from. As well as when you were holding it, your muscles, skeleton, and other bodily parts could not carry the weight of many lives, as well as the many harassing attachments and entanglements that you have experienced. When an attachment or entanglement is firmly entrenched, it can cause pain or numbness depending on which part of the body it settles within or on. You are all ascended beings with a lot more education needed in this area, but you are learning as well as uncovering and purging all that does not serve you. Moving away from a mass ascension ideology is a good, massive first step for mankind. Next question, please.
So, but again, as we discover these things, because I think, again, a lot of people not knowing what to name it have called this transitioning or recognizing oppressive forces that once it's dealt with, they feel better, and not knowing what to call that, have called that ascension.
It feels like you're lighter, so therefore you're going up.
So again, understand that, part of what we're trying to do is give more food for thought for a greater understanding as more information comes in, not that we're trying to kind of rip apart, because believe me, these people that have been talking about some of this stuff, they're feeling it. There is something very real, but if you can get past the concept of thinking that we are ascending versus we are already ascended, we're just getting off the dirt, it will then allow for now an opening of a greater understanding. Okay. So if you're constantly we're going through ascension symptoms and going through that, it's kind of sticks you in a channel of how you're going to get information and or what information you're going to accept. We're just trying to allow for a broadening of understanding and information that may allow more in. And that's the only difference. We're not trying to put down anyone who recognizes these either oppressions or the changing over of the chakras or anything.
Yes, and also another point that was made is along the same lines is there's no mass awakening either. There would be nothing served by a mass awakening, because that means what does that mean? People would all think alike? No, it just means that in the case of the oppression disappearing, the people would just be thinking, why did I act that way? That's about the most a thought renaissance would be in that way, as the Lyrians would put it. it basically would just be people free of that. It's not this mass awakening or everybody's going to ascend into 4D. That's complete crap. Complete and utter crap, and it always has been. Are there different dimensional layers? Absolutely. All that other, some of that other stuff is true. It's just that you are already an ascended being that just has amnesia. That's really all it is. So we can go on to the next one.
The next question, has Isaac in any expression ever undergone any MK
Ultra
or SRA type stuff? What
this
is
was
SRA?
SRA, I don't know exactly what it stands for, but it's more of a mind control program. That's it. MK Ultra, that's MKU right there. SRA, I looked it up to try to find what that actually stood for. If anybody wishes to put in the comments what SRA actually stands for, that would be appreciated. I looked for it, could not find it, but I know it's along the same lines as MK Ultra. And all the many programs, it's the same crap, folks. So I just put it under the same umbrella term. So this is what he had to say. I'm glad these questions are being asked. I really am. So that are just honing in on the meat of some of these things. He goes, I actually have, yes, but when it occurred, I actually was not myself. I was placed within a room where my entire identity was raked over the coals, so to speak. My personality altered and my voice changed. I went through this before Chris did within the programs, and I am myself again. It was this current expression. That is all I will say for now, my dear. And he was kind of crying when he said it. Next question, please. That's really all he would say on that. And I will say this, I will add this to this particular question. There was an instance in my Secret Space program memories where I did see him aboard a Martian German vessel when he was trying to keep me, essentially, and other troops asleep so that the Martian Germans didn't sense that they were actually, awake before they got to wherever this other planet was that they were being taken to. He was basically overseeing and looking over that particular project. That's all I know about that. And one of his brothers oversees something in Alaska right now. That's all I know about that. So we can go on to the next one.
I would like to know if Talawanda from the book Enlightenment Part 0 is around. Please find out more about him. Who is he really? Was I also Alana in the book, since I know Michael lied? Michael had lied and said he was the guy in the book. Michael needs to say why he lied to me about this. I want answers. Very upsetting, to say the least. So since this has been a big lie, please find out the truth and find out about Talawanda for me. Also, was this supposed to happen for a reason that I know this? I hope this won't be a short answer. I want to hear about it. Again, I'm very thankful that these types of questions are being asked when it comes to any of these beings, especially Michael. So this, if you knew the shenanigans that, and I put that very lightly, that have gone on, this is why these types of questions are so badly needed right now. So if anybody has any other questions, I will go on from this point. Has any other questions in regards of the loyalties and the allegiances of different beings? That would be fantastic. Those would be great questions for the Q&A. So we'll go into the answer. All right, my dear, here it is. Talawanda is a wizard of sorts that exists within a pocket of time. This place was indeed mentioned within the book, Enlightenment 0, and it still holds true. Are you Alana? Yes, indeed, you are, but you yourself have so many active expressions, as well as what Chris calls alters, that you have been seen, you have been and seen it all. As far as why Michael lied to you, he is a schizoid at heart. Talk about altered states, he can be helped. The area in which Talawanda lives is quite a lush and quite beautiful place. He sits in his home outside of the game and will communicate when and if he is able. He can pass along messages through dear, I don't know why you just said that, and he wants you to know that he feels about you, sees you, and remembers
all that you have forgotten. More to come. Bye now. I believe he said messages through him and other beings is what he meant. Sometimes the channels get slurred there.
So again, we're sorry this isn't a long answer. This is meeting really what you wanted. I think many people are not going to get the totality of what they want in certain explanations. I'm sorry. I just have to say that because you're not the only person who has been, shown things, told things that end up not being completely a truth and at the hands of a being that is intentionally being deceptive. And even though you don't want it to be, and who would, a lot of these beings will continue to be deceptive. And so the goal here is that you can get enough information and let go of some desires that you have in order to heal. I only say that because if you want answers and you want healing and you're waiting for somebody else, if I were waiting for Chris to do something in order for me to heal, I have just given away all my power to Chris. You can't, even with beings that have wronged you or lied to you or whatever, do not expect or wait for anything from them for you to be able to heal and move on in a healthy way. And try to get more information as it's made available that you can then mull over to find out about yourself. But again, that whole waiting from something on the outside to be whole on the inside will not be good for you. And so I'm sorry this isn't the long answer you wanted. I get it. I have questions like that on things that, I've been through or that we've been through. We're not getting these mass great answers anyway. And again, when somebody's involved within a storyline who isn't quite right, there may not be a good logical answer to, you want a logical answer. You want to see the ABCD.
Yes,
there may not be one.
Yeah, there may not be one.
And because you're not dealing with somebody who even deals in that. Okay. It's just a pleasure to distort, a pleasure to get you to worship, a pleasure that they have, and it doesn't have to have a logic to it. So I'm sorry I'm babbling on because I feel where you are in your desire, because we have some of the same desires, but do never wait for something on the outside to validate something on the inside of you.
Exactly. Okay, here's the next one.
Okay, you are always saying stay in your lane. I honestly don't know what my lane is yet, but can you give an example of not staying in your lane?
Okay, here we go. This is just me when I was talking here. One good example is from my very own life, whereas my true lane has been to do my work and to have Joanna and I work on our material. Where I veered off course was trying to constantly try to be someone that I wasn't, by not only feeling dominating the market was okay, but by always feeling that we had to be noticed and remembered. Remember, everyone, the work has an effect whether or not you are seen by the public or not. It just so happens that I was meant to go public, but not all are. So.
Right. And so again, this partly goes along when beings do say that part of you coming in to do your work may be that you're doing on a more of an autopilot and not knowing exactly what you're doing is a part of what you decided. And there are good reasons for that. If beings can read your mind very well that you don't realize going on, they can try to alter. But if you're on automatic pilot, just living in the authentic moment, you tend to be in your lane, doing what you need to do. And it is hard for people to come in and alter that. So there, again, you need to, if you want to know if I'm in my lane, you have to reflect about how do you feel about the day's events? Part of that's true. Do you feel, like you had a good day at work? Did you feel like someone came to you and you helped them? Don't underestimate the the importance of your interactions, even with people, where, you're in a good mood, where, whatever, and little things just happen. I think it's hard because part of what's Chris saying is bearing off our lane is that, a lot of carrot in a stick is this, fame and fortune carrot in a stick, right? And so, when you're feeling like you are, going out there to garner some attention, and that's the goal, and that's what you're supposed to be getting, so that more and more people hear you, versus just putting out things and then let it affect people in a way. We've had to reflect on that a lot. We feel more our lane is to get out certain information, to have these conversations, and to let them flow naturally, and people that are meant to hear them are going to hear them. And that actually resonates with us, I think, really reflecting on it. And then, if and it will resonate here a lot if that's what you're doing. But the concept of when people are saying, be genuine, be authentic, try to live in the current present moment, helps you stay on your lane. And don't underestimate that just interacting with people with your energies isn't the fundamentals of your lane. People really don't understand the importance of that. And many people have come into this world to live what they would think is just an ordinary life, but it's what they do with the people around them and the energies they are putting out that is extraordinary. And you won't know it until you're back on the other side. So just kind of keep that in mind, because it really can, just worrying about this can really mess with your head a lot.
And you can be veered off of your lane very much like a drunk driver can careen you out of your lane on a road kind of thing. And
Right.
So think of that kind of concept when it comes to this. Can you be knocked off of soul mission too? Yeah, I've discovered you actually can. So these things, of course, if you just let it consume you, it drives you insane. But just know that that was our example of staying in your lane and not letting a drunk driver crash into you, essentially, and veer you off your path. So we can go on to the next one here. This one's kind of small for you to read. I don't know if you can see that.
It says, so nanotech virus that we are all infected with, also called smart dust, connects us with the coronavirus, COVID-19, causes fear to drive us to accept mandatory vaccination, which will help bind with the RV TAP. Was it lap or TAP? TAP, excuse me. Frequencies aren't limited to 5G towers from satellites to control us by AI built by Google in China. We all have it. It can be activated and cause extreme ADD and control us like social grade.
Social grade, meaning like just 3D matrix bull crap, basically.
Okay.
So like just working until you die sort of type of mentality. So
Right.
And then being scattered, essentially the hamster wheel. So that's essentially what that's saying, and that's true. I said this is what I said. Okay. All right, here we go. Yes, I've seen this type of control 1,000 times over. This is dead on the mark. Biology combined with AI to create one of the largest historical false flags of all time. I could not have summed it up better in one statement. The only thing that I will add is that some of the influential waves come from the moon and Saturn, along with a group of metal spheres that are raining harmful energetic waves down on the earth. This actually goes with also that a couple of other questions above as well. If you wish to know more on some of this, go to our Patreon and watch the video entitled Talk with Chris and Joanna, the Darker Side of the Harmonic Convergence.
It's kind of interesting because we were literally just talking a little bit more about this subject matter right before we decided to record this today. And so, there has been a guides, different people coming in saying, you may want to not pay as much attention to some of this. And again, just go out, try to find your passion, try to do the things. again, watching news or watching whatever. So what Chris and I were talking about, because we were even talking about the concept of ads running for Google and this, that, and the other. It's an interesting thing to try and figure out, what are they really doing? I think most people who are listening to this Q&A feel that there are subliminal messages put out
and dangerous signals in the news and with those ads,
and those different ads. So but what's interesting that what we don't know of is the depths of it. So when you look at, let's say, for example, watching the news or whatever, there is an intoxicating effect where you get drawn into it. You're not getting drawn into it during the commercial break.
No,
You're getting drawn into it. So it makes me ponder, besides the conversations that are going on, besides the use of, we've spoken about this before, trigger words or this, that, and the other. What else is going on that we're not literally seeing? That even if you feel these are the good guys speaking, or you're getting good, and I'm going to say good guy in quotes, information, there's still something else potentially going on that's dragging you into some sort of for and against.
Yes, and also getting hyped up or triggered by like the news, and also into that ADD state, which I every now and again fall into this ADD state where you just don't know which way to go, what to do. It's kind of this semi stir crazy bored type of feeling. And that's also what's going on with these energies raining down.
It's hitting everybody everywhere. Now, we do agree with the concept that was said there, that pretty much we've all breathed in certain types of nanotech or whatever.
So I felt it when I got sick that time. I even had some
right, and and it's in the environment. It's around us. So we do our best to cleanse our environments, to make things and do things that will either counteract or deactivate or whatever. However, that's part of what people are trying to constantly figure out to make a better sovereign environment. We do acknowledge that this exists, and we certainly do acknowledge that if you've created a sovereign space, but you got to go to the grocery store, you could come home a little bit dirty. Some exposure to all of that, though, does build your immunity to it, so it doesn't affect you as much over time. Please remember that, because, trying to just not encounter it isn't necessarily for your highest good in some reason.
In some instances, it could be the same as somebody trying to wear a mask for the wrong reason too. So it can go both ways. It can you can stay in your bubble and be perfectly fine, but then eventually you have to leave it and go do stuff. There is a time where you have to attempt to become immune to these different frequency inversions and everything.
Right, and that's partly what we are doing, which is probably why more and more people are beginning to talk about some of these topics where they're worried about different things going on around them. Do people really have things out for our highest good? Is there another reason? That means they're not completely responding in the way that they wanted. And so people are slowly spiritually gaining immunity to some of this. So I want to acknowledge that too, because we don't want people we want people to make their home space as good as they can make it. We make products for all about that reason, to make it better. But the goal is, and we've always said that later on down, humanity, they'll be in a museum because humanity will have gained, and those influences do not affect people, because the human skin suit that we're in is so amazing, and it has the ability from, very high beings who help put the skin suit together, the ability to adapt to this. So remember that as a positive note, okay? That yes,
you always adapt to any poisons, any chemtrailing, any frequency changes, anything. Your brain eventually, even telepathic harassment, there will be immunity.
And even let's say, that there was a demise, like I died here and a lot of interference caused it. The next life I come into, that codex of immunity comes with. So that is the truth as well. That's why we're constantly growing and expanding. So even if it's not completely mastered in this lifetime, it's not like you're starting over again with the moving forward of the immunity to this. Again, we've lived many, 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 many lives, and we're constantly growing and learning and taking that with us and on to the next.
And also your chemistry here in the skin suit does adapt along with your energetics. They adapt, they're intertwined here. So they will adapt. Give it time, they will adapt. If you stay away from a sickness or virus or anything like that, your chances of getting sicker when you do encounter it is greater. It goes with the energies, it goes with the vibrations, it goes with the nanotech, it goes with all of the above. Encountering darker entities, people go along their whole lives being afraid of these entities, and they don't encounter any of them. They irritate me more than anything. I regard them more or less like a mosquito. Just swat it. And that's how the stance you have to take for that. And also adapting to the energies. I have a tough time like being at a store like Walmart or something like that. I can't be around it very long. I'm getting a little better about that, but I also like, that's why I wear the hat and I wear these things. But I was told that, there will be times where I won't need these things as much, getting immune to these crappier energies that keep forming. It's more or less getting exposed to essentially basically think of it as like a vaccine for the energies, a real one, not the fake one that's out there, but one that you're getting immune to over a period of time. So we can go on to the next one here. It's a little small, but
that's okay. Is there a universal radio or sound frequency that heals the physical body? And if so, what is that?
Okay. This was kind of a short answer. Sorry about this, and it's split here. Okay. Isaac here to answer this most poignant question. Yes, there is a single one that can start the healing process by triggering transmutations within the body. Some people may consider this a form of sound frequency harm simply because of the fact that their bodies may temporarily look and feel horrible. Such is the true growth process. Things and events happen that we will never like or love, but they happen nonetheless. I am not saying that all experiences must be processed, but all growth must be honored. That said, the frequencies to start this process are 111 hertz and 112 hertz, with variances in between. Thank you. And next question, please. So we can move on from there. That was a nice short one there. Okay, here is the next one. The writing is very small here. So
it says, I know energy is changing and we feel weird at times. Totally understandable. But I feel weird like when I go out and leave my home, like to the store or whatever. I get around people and hate it. I know we are all different and such, but I like to ignore everyone when I go to the store. Is that normal? Because I feel off. I always feel like I'm different and I just need to escape. Please help.
Okay, this is a very long answer that I concocted.
And we actually started it in the last.
And we also started it in the last question too. So remember that. And here's the other half of the coin when it comes to that as well. This is something that I myself and my mother both go through. We both cannot stand to be around people because of their energies and just plain bouts of extreme stupidity. I myself feel very weird at times, and it is the varying energies, as well as the instances of having been a targeted individual my whole life that also caused this. If you have been SSP, then the chances that you not only have experienced the hamster wheel effect or have been targeted with weird thoughts or painful scalar waves, but to answer your question, for some, it is perfectly normal to ignore everyone at the store. Trust me, it's normal. You don't have to love or interact with anybody if you don't want to. I do it often. An example as to why why this is, and I mean every time we go to Walmart, and I am just there to find a single thing, the programming takes over someone and causes them to be a major pain in the ass. And I gave a couple of examples to this. I got to put a space in here because apparently my dyslexia is popping into it. Okay, such as these two examples. One, I could be in a perfectly open area of Walmart, such as the front area, and without fail, an older couple will rush to get ahead of me and slow down 3 feet in front of me. And I mentioned parts of this on Interstellar Council as well, but I'll rehash it. Sometimes they will stop and read a list, or if I go around them, they will swerve over and almost hit me with their cart. Happens a lot. Actually, it happens a lot more than I would like. Another example is this. It actually involves 2 instances. 2A, I walked into a Walmart. You see a pattern emerging, don't you? To get some jars for my tincture making. As I walked around looking in the area where they usually were, an elderly employee saw me and began to follow me around the store. Even when I tried to lose him in a totally different area of the store, he was still like 3 feet behind me. When I turned to confront him as to why he was stalking me, he simply said in a whiny voice, I only wanted to see if you needed help. And he quickly darted away from me. 2B. This incident is similar in nature to the last one, but we were at Tuzigoot National Monument when I pulled out the ghost box to try it out in the ancient Indian ruins. As soon as I began to record, and this was literally as I hit the button, a couple of ladies came out of nowhere and stood only a foot or so from me and began to speak very loudly. When I tried to move, they moved with me and intentionally kept pace with me. They could clearly see that I was recording, and both had the classic program blank deer in a headlights, lack of blood to the brain stare on their faces. That's a classic sign of programming, folks, if you ever see it. When I confronted them, they only said, what, huh? And wait, what? And when Joanna took them aside and began to speak to them, which this began to break the programming, they snapped out of it and said, oh my God, I am so sorry. Granted, I realize this, and nearly all instances like these are being activated. Sorry, but come on, people, a bit of etiquette would not and could not hurt you. This, my friend, is why it is perfectly normal to ignore people in public, namely at the store. There are many more examples that I could talk about, but mentioning them would fill the Library of Congress. Needless to say, the experiences are many and numerous. Thank you for listening to my rant. You're welcome. But I've run into countless more of these experiences. So ignoring this is key to breaking that programming, unless you have somebody 2 inches behind you. But it's because of your frequency. You're humming at a very different frequency than some of these people are, because they are in more of a 3D mindset. You're leaving this and going into more of a sovereign mindset, away from their daily grind or what they are thinking and have become. This is what these energies are doing. It's this what we call splitting of the densities, or as a bifurcation. It is important to not even be involved in this bifurcated process, other than more than you have to. You trifurcate away from that and be more of a neutral observer to watch this process. I'm not saying that's easy by any stretch of the imagination, but when you encounter this, there'll even be people that turn and look at you like you're an alien walking in public, because you're becoming more of the soul self. You're becoming more of you, of the entirety, the totality of you. And your frequency is vastly different than the people that are walking there. So they will think something's very wrong. They'll think you need assistance, you need help, or they'll just be plain old distractions, like we've had landscapers here do creepy and weird things with the landscaping equipment. It's humorous and funny only so far. But but to cut this down a little bit, this is what we ourselves, and me in particular, have run into. It's just because the programming wants to aim at people that are getting into shedding all this and becoming more of the ascended self, let's just say that who they are, and the sovereign self. So they dart and aim all of these people at you. It's the same as that ending to the movie The Matrix, when Neo had come out of it and he was on the verge of becoming more of who he truly was. Smith was downloading himself into all the people to try to kill him through the whole thing. It is a less violent form of that, but that's essentially that programming people call the Mr. Smith programming. It's nicknamed that. And this is what is essentially coming at you because of that energy of vibratory clash.
So in that understanding, what I would add to this is that, I certainly understand all of it. I've certainly experienced it. And I certainly go into the store a lot of times, in a sense, with my head down. However, again, understand that there's a difference between having your head down and making a choice to say, I don't want to participate in this, and going in, I want to be quick, I want to be effective, I need to get done in the fastest time possible or whatever, and trying to control the situation where this type of stuff exists. So it's like, in a sense, going into the lion's den where this type of energetic dynamic exists. And how do I get in there quickly and efficiently? And with my answer of no, I don't want to participate in this.
Yes.
So I have to encourage you to, for this, that happens to all of us, to choose now to change your mindset in one way, accepting that this is a reality and the frequencies, and understanding that now it is your choice to almost add more space around you, so that in a sense, you may not be as noticed, you're not easily able to get to, you're not easily as affected, because your intention is not to have these interactions. However, in doing that, there are times where your challenge is going to be changing your own personal perspective. And I'll give you a good example. It has to do with the older people. So you can either choose to say, oh my God, look at you in my way again. Or what I tend to do, especially with some of them, go, wow, look at you. You're having a hard time walking. Congratulations for still walking. And when, and I acknowledge you still getting up, moving, doing what you need to do. And in a moment, I can see I'm going to have an opportunity to speed up and go around you. God bless your soul and God bless your journey. You can choose how you react to some of this, because some of this is, again, do you really want to constantly stay in an annoyed state? That now becomes really sometimes a choice of yours, and it goes to show a growth that you need to have, and then a choice of when to interact, because there are going to be times that maybe you do want to step forward. A good example of that happened to us when we were at the post office in a very long line, patiently waiting our turn, wanting no drama, wanting no extra whatever, wanting none of that. And sure enough, we get up there and somebody comes into the post office with this long line. These poor postal workers, one of the days, a lot of mailing was going on, mail up to the yin yang, huge sign in the front, we need help, please apply. And they're doing the best that they can. And instead of having an extra line open, they now need to take one of the employees to move the boxes that are piled up that you can't even put more on to keep things going. And so someone comes in from the outside, totally decides to ignore the long line, totally decides not to see really what's going on around, but wants to complain because the drive up where you mail your slots, where you mail your cards and stuff, is full and needs to be emptied. And came in demanding, it's really kind of funny, came in demanding that they stop what they're doing to go out there, because she felt like she and others are now being inconvenienced due to their incompetence. And here are these poor postal workers who, if you decide to step back and look at it, you're like, God bless them. I'm glad you decided to come to work today. Thank you. You know what I mean? That you want, because it's overwhelming, and they couldn't say a thing except one of them said, ma'am, we're not to go unload that till 4:30. That's the time. And we're kind of, but she didn't want to notice what was going on. She wanted to come in and cause problems. And so
I realize people are becoming unhinged, but
right. And so they couldn't really do much, but in an energetic way to support the postal workers who could do nothing, in a very loud way to hopefully irritate the shit out of her, I actually turned around and said, and I hope you have a great day, because she refused to acknowledge anything else, and it was kind of, funny, and people kind of like chuckled a little bit. And at the end, when I was done, the poor postal worker just leaned forward and said, be careful when you go out there. Like she's maybe waiting around the corner to pounce on you.
Yeah, that might be.
But again, in doing what I did was more in a sense to diffuse that horrific negative energy that she came in. I did not have to do anything. And again, head down, trying to get your business done, but made a choice to do something, to counteract a programmed person who was coming in. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to give that example too, because, you besides having moments, and I'm right there with you, having moments of, I just need to get in and out. We all get like that. I don't want any of this. I don't want the attention and whatever. Heads down a little bit. I got my business going on. I got my big circle going on, whatever. But to take moments where you can still recognize in a humanity way, God, I wish you your highest good. You're still trying to walk around, even though you're obviously having problems. I'll get around you in a minute. I acknowledge you as a human being. Here's my humanity. And then again, trying to diffuse something horribly, but those were my choices rather than, again, feeling like I have no choice in a situation. So again, don't forget, you do have a choice when you do and don't decide to intervene. And if your heart's calling you to do something, look at it differently and do what you need to do, and don't accept that you're always being targeted. That's a big one as well.
Yeah, so you're not always, there's specific people that have, even though the entire human race has to a certain extent and have been abductees to a certain extent, it's not everyone is being that extreme targeted individual. That's a program that's being put out. There's very specific people that have secret space program, MyLabs, people of that nature. Those are the ones that are really being targeted. Also, people, when you're out in public and you are one of those other people, like that woman at the post office, there comes a time where you have to ask yourself, is yelling at these people going to solve anything? Because you don't have to yell at the gas station attendant about high gas prices. That person already knows this and can't control this. Just like the post office person. They can't control the fact that you can't walk in the damn room and put your card on the desk next to all the other packages that are laying there like every other friggin' human being was in that room. So I get the energies suck. They suck, but you don't have to breathe them in as the oxygen in which you are surviving off of. This is exactly what people like that are doing. They're breathing it in as if they need it to live. And that is not the way to exist. So I think we can actually go on to the next one here. This is another Michael one. All right.
It's a tiny quick question that I've wondered. So if Michael lied about this book, the book, am I still his wife somehow? That is important for me to know. Did he lie about being white knights? And I hope not. So we could do many shows.
Michael could have his own series, not only of Q&A, but a TV series all his own, with movies probably involving the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a villain. And yes, he was in one of them, by the way, depicted in one of them as a bad guy. I will bring that up. Watch Guardians of the Galaxy 2. They even named him Ego. Watch it. So this appropriately named, even though that was a Marvel character from the comic books, they nailed him dead to rights in that, as far as I'm concerned. As far as I know of him now, him being what I call a hedge better of the gods, meaning he had an agenda from day one by which throwing the dice to see which army he could control in history. A lot of aliens are doing this. I call it hedge betting of the gods because Bendigoth was responsible in the Age of the Dailian League doing this. There were many others that would throw the dice saying, okay, let's see if which human army can be the dominant torsion field, and we'll throw them in the middle, and then we'll battle with each other, throw them in the middle, blah, blah, blah. That's hedge betting of the gods right there, a big chess game. It's depicted in the movie Jason and the Argonauts through the whole movie, the older movie. So before I go too far off the mark, I am actually glad these types of questions are being asked. I really am. I personally like it because it not only brings about a greater discernment within myself, but it also helps others as they learn and grow as well. It is no secret by now that I personally no longer trust Michael and his advice. He has spoken so many lies to us over the years, as well as standing side by side with Simeon and Gemma Isis as a multitude as a multitude of embarrassing disinformation was not only given to me privately that I used as an informational template for many, many years, but also was given to clients in sessions. That's one of the biggest no-nos for me. To answer someone else's question within this one, yes, Michael did make up the destruction of Saturn and replacing it with a hologram story. That was another question. I couldn't refine it to put in here. It is a very obviously still in the sky, as well as is Jupiter and his supposed highly over-dramatized implosion and death of House M story we have used for some time now, at least since 2018. That said, I will leave the final part of this rant to Isaac to give his 2 cents on Michael and the White Knights of Theory. Hey everyone, Isaac here to go into a very short rant about Michael. His current avatar is a mess within a mess, but his ties to Saturn as well as his worship being status often make him especially vulnerable to schizoid behavior. And as such, ta-da, lies, and big ones at that. So much so that he creates fantastical tales that fit the personality of the channeler. Yeah, an example of which is if you are expecting an ascension or awakening sort of reality, he will adapt himself to that. If you expect a savior knight or are into that, he will adapt and become that for you. The list goes on, but one thing is certain. He is a lover and a betrayer. Are the knights real? Yes, indeed, they are from their very own mouth. But is Michael their leader? No, he most certainly is not. He here thought Michael was just playing what he would call the dark card, whereas he acted dark sometimes. Chris here would not utilize him, so Chris would not utilize him as much and work more on his own and protect himself more. Most assume this. But you know the old phrase, to assume makes an ass out of you and me. This is all for now until you both get even further along in your own personal evolutions. Next question. This is what I enjoyed about this. See what he meant by dark card. And I'll go into this just for a second here. Some beings will play the dark, what I call the dark card, or act dark or evil so that you discard them from your life. And at first, that's what I thought Michael was doing. But this is something I can't really trust him on now, because even as to the day of this recording right now, that's 12/22/21, he was screwing around as of this morning, and I found out he was continuing to put a boot on our heads in regards to intermixed with the whole hamster wheel effect concept. He was intertwined into that as much as the targeters of the government are and the military. Completely wrapped up in it. And again, it goes back to the hedge betting, which do we bet on? The gods, which do we bet on here? So this is actually, I'm also doing slightly mind white. This is also because it's touching on him. I want to add one more thing. No, you are not his wife. That's something different. And also with God dang it, Michael, he's pulling some shenanigans today. Sorry, folks. He's making me go off path. Here we are. Any messages where he is saying, basically telling people to wait on others to ascend, completely and utterly full of shit. That is a main one that is happening right now, and trying to focus on ascending yourself. Again, you're already an ascended being. You just have to shed what does not serve, and he is one of them. So that's one thing. Also, he starts talking about the Great Awakening coming up, completely full of shit right there as well. And also there's a resurgence in Michael channelings that are coming up. He'll add good things in with some complete bullshit. Even though the bad guys all do this, he's continuing to do this. It's a complete resurgence in the popularity of Michael that is happening right now as of this recording. Please disregard. follow your own intuition, pick out the things in those messages that actually work, disregard anything about mass ascensions or mass awakenings. You're already awakened. You just have amnesia as to that fact.
So let me add one thing to this, because I want to clarify on the wife issue. If you come at it from the mind of the schizoid known as Michael, okay?
He also tells people he's their father too. He did that to me.
So what I need for you to understand is, in the mind of the schizoid, the schizophrenic Michael, okay, in relationships, in having multiple moments with different souls of an interaction, you know, in his mind, his definition of what it means to be a father, or what it means to be a husband, or you as my wife, or whatever, you know, some of that is going to feel, even when you reflect on it now, you're going to say, but somehow it still rings true to me. Because in schizoid, his mind, his interpretation of what that means, he feels he's meeting the definition. And so in a sense, it's a truth. Because a father figure could be a guiding figure, someone who's been in your life or whatever. So again, you have to understand the manipulation of words and definitions of words. So what I'm saying to you, because I cannot tell you how many people have felt that they've had a very intimate, again, this is female to Michael. If you're in a female and you're thinking you were intimate with Michael, more in like a husbandly wife experience. I'm not going to say that you didn't have some of those experiences, just not in the terminology of what you believe wife means. So in that sense, he can get away with it and it can feel true, because there's a weird skewed view, but he knows he's twisting what your interpretation is. So he's going to come across as genuine and, you know, thoughtful and, you know, baby, I loved you. I cared for you. I protected you, you know, also that Munchausen by proxy, but he's also feeding you the poison that you'll need him to rescue you on. And he's actually killing you, you know, in his warped way. So I only deal with this particular being in current present moment. It is not wise to go back and reflect that there could have been a moment where there was a benevolent portion going on. It will not be to your highest good to try and will that benevolent part back.
Yes, I learned this myself. I thought he was curable. But as I reflect back on all the instances of my life, Simeon was the same way and Gemma was the same way. And Gemma treated me as if I was a husband figure and a kingly figure to try to overbloat my ego in that way. Simeon blocked me from who I truly was, emotionally, physically, and memory-wise, by standing in front of the door that I needed to open. These things all take place, and Gemma did more the lover part, Simeon was more the teacher part, and Michael was more the father. So this is how I was introduced to all three of them.
And just understand that there's no amount of your endearing, let's say, loving, healing thoughts that have a large enough torsion field to fix him. You've got to understand, again, understand who you are versus understand. You know, even Anu will say he's as equal power to me as now. I wish it was more for benevolence.
Yeah, Odin told us as of this morning.
So please understand. And again, I cannot say this strongly. There is no shame, blame, or guilt. So if you have had, you feel loving, it's like this lover. Like, I love him as if a beautiful wife would, love somebody, but I can't trust him. He turns on me. Well, doesn't that happen a lot of times in a lot of those types of relationships anyway? So I just want you to know that I do not doubt at all that any person that comes to say that Michael has made them feel like they were a wife to him, I do not doubt that truth. It's just that the definition of what that means in his schizoid mind versus probably what you are wondering, they're not going to be the same.
No.
And so, but in that sense, in his schizoid mind, there is a truth there that is also resonating with you. And so this is where this becomes hard. And Michael is really good at going after people, if he doesn't want to truly lose his control over them, he will go to them and then try to convince them otherwise. Anyway, I just had a bad moment. He will do these things. So again, we are giving this information that we have learned, that we've had to also expand. Again, if you want to take this in and mull this around and even potentially allow it to be now a part of the truth, you're just expanding yourself, pulling back another onion later. There's a lot for us to learn. Unfortunately, right now, we're in a lot of learning where we are having to slowly, at the rate we can handle it, see more of how things really are, okay, versus even how we want them to be, but they are. And that then gives us a point at which to say, what is my standard? What do I want?
Mm-hmm.
And so understand that, because this can really hurt. This kind of, opening up to this kind of betrayal, it can just devastate some people. And I acknowledge that. I'm acknowledging that. And I'm sorry, you will go through mourning and you will go through these very normal processes. Then you're going to question whether you ever want to know the truth on some of these things again. I get it. And I'm right there with you. But I do believe he has told many a women and made many a women feel like they have been a loving spouse to him and a wife. And in his schizo mind, he feels that way. So, but he's the biggest bigamist there is.
And I believe in Gemma was the same way, and Gemaisis was the same way, because of bloating other men up and women. She did both of them. That to build them up to more of an egocentric, kingly type of entitled status. And another one, people are going to hate when I'm about to say, Jesus falls into this category as well, because I've known people to know him in not only past lives, like myself, that where he was literally planning out, and the creator of this whole orchestrated plan with the Roman Empire making up Jesus's very existence with the cross and the symbol, transferring it over to Christianity. I'm not going to go into that entire rant, but I will say that he has done the same thing. I've heard from more than one person that they've dreamt about him dancing with them, kissing him, all this other stuff. Both men and women on that particular count.
Right,
so
many women feel they're married now.
Because
of being the wife aspect to him.
Even though there are incarnations of Mary Magdalene, there's also altars of that aspect as well, along with Jesus. But at the same time, that was Enlil, where he was the greater consciousness in this Enlil that's kind of spawned this the Jesus consciousness and became the one that says love everybody. You don't actually have to love everybody. You just have to be in your lane and do your thing and not actually do harm unto others. This and not worship that. In this though, I will say one more thing. There's been many people, as like I said, both men and women, gay and straight, that have all said that Jesus has either been their lover or been offered to take pain from them that they have not dealt with. Many people say, "Oh, give your pain to Jesus." No, you have to deal with it. Just like that old Star Trek movie where this Jesus figure tried to take the pain away from Kirk. He goes, "No, I need this to process this and get through it," sort of thing. He was doing it correctly. They were showing both examples in that movie. I've already done little recordings on this that will be on our Patreon in time. I'm not going to go through the entire thing. Just know he falls under this category as well. I always say worship that not. So I was shocked and I was devastated when I found out these things. There's a whole story about Jesus I could go into right now, but that's not the time for it. Just needless to say, worship that not. So I'm going to go on to the next question before I end up going on another rant here. So this is going to be a very long one. This is why we need to go on to this one.
Something I've been hearing is that there will be an event that will take down our Orion rebellion, causing the whole thing to collapse into itself and being disintegrated as if it never existed. It's the Andromeda Council who discovered that if this was allowed to continue in about 300 years, the entire galaxy would be taken over. So my question is, if the created demons are disintegrated, will the created angels also be disintegrated? Sometimes my head is spinning when I try to understand what is going on. When I was very young in this lifetime, I started asking, why am I here? When I asked my mother towards the end of her life if she ever wondered about that, she answered no. Can you scroll that up? Which is probably why I never talked about it much.
Okay, let's see here. This is going to go on a little bit. It may seem like it veers. It goes into a whole little dissertation and rant I did on some of these different channel groups, but it does apply to this question, just not in the way that you were wanting it to apply to this question. And I had to go into great detail over this, or it would not have come across right. It wouldn't have been in context. So the question is a very good one, but I must be the proverbial bubble burster in this case. There is no event. There never has been. It is up there with the Great Awakening, all of us ascending into 5D type of thing. Not that there are not great changes and not anyone waking up in their very own way, but to call it an event never has sat well with me. It never really has. It, along with all of its other names and euphemisms, has always equated for me part of the negative agenda to get people believing in what we have come to call as instant pudding, meaning when people's instant gratification tendencies are stoked to the point of extreme expectation, longing, and want. It is always good to know what your personal lane is. And I had to go through this, all of this. So this is going to take a bit. Asking, why am I here? But it is never, and I mean never, a good idea to become distracted away from your lane by a million or so drunk drivers not in theirs. Get my meaning? Meaning that asking why you're here is a very, very good thing, but never a good idea to become distracted by that concept, by that so much so that you do not stay in your lane. You're wondering why you're here and you don't do what you're here to do. Just saying, just do your thing. As for the supposed Andromedan Council, I'm very skeptical that they even exist at all. For one, Andromeda is our word, and the only time an alien would use it is either A, to deceive, or B, to use a word that we are very familiar with in order to communicate. Both of those are actually very, very true. So I'm not bashing any group that does it. A benevolent group would never talk about liberating us or delivering us from evil. Get where this is going again. Nor would a benevolently intended group call themselves by using our given words or name with just the previous explanation as the only exception, what I just said. I will just say it. There is no Andromedan Council, but there are many beings, groups, planets, and planetary clusters that form councils, many of them. None of them are called by the words we created. And I got to be very blunt about that, unfortunately, because it's getting out of hand, unfortunately. Councils and concepts to be very suspicious of. The Pleiadian Council. For one, I will say it again. Pleiadian or Pleiades is our word. It literally means the seven sisters translated into English. They would not refer to themselves as such. Granted, so is Orion, but that has a bit more basis in truth from an alien origin. Fomorian equals Orion. From Orion. It was still our enunciation, but it still had a basis in truth. Whenever a legitimate group comes forward, they will say from where humans refer to as part of their introduction. The in big letters, council. Okay, yes, I do know that I myself fell for this very obvious trick. Again, it goes back to that whole head betting thing. But I know now that this is not a legitimate group. There is no the. as far as councils go, unless you count the Galactic Federation as such. Then you would have to pick through the word legitimate as well. That was only a partial joke, since it is, in my opinion, that they are not the only game in town. They feel that all other councils fall within their purview and that all should fall under their rule. For more information on their political structuring, go to our Patreon and watch the Talk with Crystal and Joanna episodes about this subject. There's several of them on there. They are very detailed. If anyone, and I mean anyone, says that they are the V of anything, turn them away immediately. The Council of Nine. And this is one I had a hard time with myself. This was a group that Gene Roddenberry himself channeled in the book entitled Earth, Planet of Choice. In the back, he was asking them questions about Earth and the origins of Jesus, etc. See a pattern again. It pains me to have to put this in this category, but I must. Nothing against the man, but the group is whom I hold great reservations with. They are also referred to simply as the Nine. Very AI, if you ask me. Their origins go all the way back to ancient Egypt, and after the Draco-Orion Harvester invasion toppled the last true Osiris age, meaning it was the corrupt versions of the Nine that made the history that we know of as ancient Egypt and the subsequent human de-evolution of intellect that happened afterwards. So with that said, they are to be avoided, meaning don't channel them. Angels and archangels. These are the original Orion winged serpent invaders from 500,000 years ago, when they brought about the Norse, what the Norse referred to as the Ragnarok, or the destruction of Asgard. This means that angels were and always have been evil. They are the ones that divide, and they are the demons and the saviors. The seraphim, translated literally means large serpent. Do you really want a large serpent coming to your rescue? I would hope not. As for angels, again, that is our word. It literally means messenger, translated from ancient Hebrew. It is a generic term having nothing to do with any sort of pretty boy winged beings of any kind. When you use this term to call out for help, you will literally get anyone and anything. This includes the word God. True creation is neutral, and as such, calling out to God will get you anyone from a version of Jesus to Shiva to just about anybody for that matter. People always say, but God will know what you mean. It is simple. Just act as if he doesn't, and always call upon your own oversoul as well as benevolent source creator, which if you get right down to it, they are one and the same, just reflections of creation. And this next one, if that one didn't piss somebody off, this next one's probably going to. Universal law. This is a biggie, so I will just break it down. As I said before, God is neutral, and as such is anyone and anything and everything in existence. Also, with that said, per the parameters of how supposed universal law is supposed to operate, meaning that the God figure does not allow, doctrine is total and complete crap. If God is neutral in everything in creation, that means he is bad too. Bad too is part of everything, is it not? Good and bad actions and intent. So who would be enforcing this set of laws upon all species and all races everywhere in creation? You guessed it, no one. Each species and race out there also has their very own ideas on what malevolent and benevolent actually mean for them. So this means their free will works for them and how they see creation or lack thereof. However, since we are a spark of creation, we can determine our very own planet and territory, what laws to make. There is darkness and there is light, but this is indicative of intent and not always energy types. Intent creates energy type and subsequent vibration itself. Yes, the Orions broke across space-time and brought their dark creator with them. And yes, did they try to buck the system by escaping their doomed reality? Yes, on both accounts. But here's the catch. They too are now part of this very system of dark and light, or creation itself. So how is there not a neutral creator again? It allowed for one of the largest multiversal mishaps of all time and space to occur, while many, many worlds, including our own, have suffered multiple generations of torment and death at the hands of beings destined to die or be weeded out by source because they were declared to be so dark. So then I asked you, our viewers, why was this allowed when the ones we call Dark Orions left their universe and came to ours, and many others as well, when they were supposedly marked for death? Would not a purely loving creator just have eliminated them as they traversed across the multiverse, marauding their eventual way to our doorstep? Evidently not. But there is a good side to this, you see. Creation through us has learned to grow and expand as a result of this invasion. One could indeed call that a good thing as we create the antigen for the virus. This still proves that beyond a shadow of a doubt that prime creator, God, whatever name you wish to use, is at best in its totality neutral. This is the reason why we here at the Lifting call upon true benevolent source creator, or what we could consider as humans to be benevolent intent. I know this does not quite roll off the tongue like the word God does, but remember, there are others out there that call upon the dark intent of creator as well. So, something to think about at least. Does this make the no consent rule and revocation obsolete? No, because it is your intent, as you notice spells, magic, and technology being used on you, that is the driving force for repelling said negative sources. The no consent rule does have some hold. Do you consent to being robbed, taken hostage, or being the victim of B&E or breaking and entering? I would hope not. But though you did not consent, it still happened anyway, did it not? Though there are a lot of etherical entities that must obey the no consent or invitation rule, there are just as many that do not. By you declaring to a demon that you do not consent or invite them in, is your own power and intention that is repelling them. It is you that's doing it. For you are more powerful and can create far more than you ever could know. You are creator and always have been. Even more to think about. Also, I want to add that the idea of the Lyrans referring to as a thought renaissance is still legit if you put into account that it only means that people will just wonder why they acted a certain way or say something stupid after the mind control is turned off. There will be a period of more creativity in people. However, both are true.
So just to quickly go back to the question, because again, when we see questions like this,
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes again, it's looking at an external source to come in
And save
to
you.
put everything to an end.
Yes.
And who wouldn't want that? I
Yeah.
know I've said that a million
Yeah.
times.
Who
Who
wouldn't want that?
wouldn't want that, especially as uncomfortable it is now? It is not our understanding that anything like that is going to happen. However, there are things going on out there where there is if we had to title it, we would call them benevolent groups with not a conflicting agenda who want to see humanity's positive growth and expansion, that are, let's say, doing things on our behalf, intervening in things that we don't even know exist out there.
I know that doesn't roll off the tongue as easily as something else, but it's necessary.
Right. And so just to be able to describe it. So I don't want you to think, that we're all in this alone. That's not a true statement either. But there is a mechanism of building people's hopes up with something that really isn't true. And then when the rug's pulled out, it actually demoralizes to the point where they stop their spiritual growth. And that, unfortunately, is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
To have these play-its like this intentionally to, in the end, demolish your feelings about things so you won't look anymore.
Yes.
So just remember that strategy is in play. It's not really a truth. Try hard not to fall for it. but there is a lot of benevolence out there, and you are a co-creative being, and you can certainly say, no, this will not happen.
Exactly.
This will stop. People are becoming aware and will become more aware. So you start using it as your own creative intent on how you want to see the world to be, not wait for someone else.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't have said that better. That seems to be an ongoing issue with the whole savior type of thing, where people are waiting for Superman, basically. And the whole premise behind waiting for Superman is basically you're not becoming Superman. So, and they even tried to, the Cabal tried to make a program out there ages ago within a show called Powerless, where regular humans were always smaller in energetics to that of the superheroes that they were watching around them. It became from the perspective of human beings versus the superheroes, and they called it Powerless. It was a program they put within the program to try to get people to want Superman or Batman to come rescue them. And it'll happen that way, folks. You have to become Superman and Batman. I don't mean in a violent way either, not like in the Injustice comic series. No, I'm meaning basically your own superhero and your own sovereign self. So we have to move on here. This is a question about a video that I couldn't find. So you can just go ahead and read the question.
Oh, it says, what are the Galactic's comments on this? And it happens to be a video series. That's one of, the first one here says 1 of 7. This is the Trump Time Travel Miracle Explained. So if you're looking up on YouTube, did you find it? Is that it?
No, that's just a screenshot.
Oh, because the video was removed.
And I can always put this screenshot right here in this video if people can find this, but I personally could not find any one of these 7 videos. So when I went to look.
And again, the original title of it was the Trump Time Travel Miracle Explained. That's what it was called.
Yeah, 1 of 7. Yeah, and I could not find any of these. So the videos have actually been removed from what I've seen. So I just basically let Isaac take this one, this since he was involved in the programs as well. So he goes, "Hi everyone, Isaac here to explain one thing. Yes, have Cabal and corporation members gone back through time and made the proverbial mess of things? Yes, they have indeed. But in this particular instance, Trump never, and I mean never, time traveled. Though he has been part of one of the largest and most anticipated parts of the Cabal narrative ever in their narrative writing history. He never went back in time. Agents of the Montauk Project and various other time travel projects have gone backwards and forwards and have even appeared in photos. But, and here's the proverbial bombshell, or here's the bombshell of the day. Virtually none, and I mean none, have made it to the public. Very few, in fact, have been seen outside of human eyes. Hang on, I got to reread that. Somebody's dicking with me here. So let me see. Very few, in fact, have been and had been seen by human eyes or had human eyes laid upon them. It was kind of glitched there for a moment. Most of what you have seen on YouTube have been elements of both disinformation and some out there wanting the concept to be known. That is all for now. Bye, everybody. And yeah, I thought that was very interesting. Basically, what they were saying is Trump was part of this entire narrative, is what he was saying. Both Biden and Trump, sorry guys, all Cabal. No, actually, I'm not sorry. They're both part of the theater of puppets. And I can't be apologetic about it. That's just true.
Both halves of the same coin.
Both halves of the same coin.
There may be different families that have different agendas and different viewpoints on humanity in general. So they're not all in perfect alignment, but they are both halves on the same coin with certain agendas that they all agree upon, and that's really what they're acting upon.
And it's called the theater of puppets for a reason, folks. So I'm not sorry about saying that. That just happens to be the truth. So as far as Cabal narratives go, so there's a few questions left here. So
it says, "Hi, I'm doing everything possible to manifest a good life. Nothing fancy like European vacations or a sports car. Just a happy, fulfilling, simple life would be great. I've already written everything out that I want. I know I am to now be in receiving mode and be patient, but what to do in the interim? I find myself pretty much drowning in the day-to-day grind of my job, so I get very down and I cry a lot. This isn't a cool way to be living until my manifestation of an improved life is created. It might add to the complexity being a former
TI, that's a targeted individual.
targeted individual, and my lab SSP vet. Thanks.
Okay, there's several components to this. There's other questions that are similar, so they're each been answered. So I will answer this one. First, Isaac, here to say that what you are doing is dead on correct, dear. This mixed with the SSP vet status makes it twice as hard to manifest as the average bear. The hamster wheel turns as you go one way, and the whole of the manifestation gets grabbed by someone else. This is called karma dumping by Chris here. The trick of it is to become the more powerful torsion field. To cry is good. To acknowledge PTSD is good. To know and see that you are having aftercare done is good. The acknowledgement of it all is part of the way there. Fight through the pain of the weight and the challenge, and challenge yourself to endure, as well as fight for what you want and need out of life. This means push harder within the energetics, as well as act on what you want. The rest is what you have written. Never accept defeat. Never.
So I'm going to go back up to her question.
Yes.
And there is one line that I would like to bring out for a consideration of reflection. And it's the line that says, I know I am to now be in a receiving mode and be patient. So when I hear that, part of me hears outside source. And I get concerned a little bit when I see that, because who are you receiving this from? Who do you?
Now, if it's oversold, that's different.
Right. So again, I am only bringing this statement up as a point of reflection to get the person who authored this to think a little bit more on your thoughts about, these types of things and the co-creating process. So again, because still, you can say, I'm throwing my intentions out, but now I'm waiting again for this whole outside source to send energies my way that can now help me to become happy. That's still outside, okay? And so I want and asking people to think of this a little bit differently in their manifestations. And Isaac alluded to, again, the thoughts of you now becoming the stronger torsion field. Mm-hmm. The stronger torsion field comes from within you, never outside. It is the energies that are stirred and brought out, never from the outside. Mm-hmm. Meaning that this happens a lot to people where, and I'm going to use Chris on this because he's been very honest and open about his struggle and looking at people and calling a lot of people stupid and dumb. Okay. And I don't want to be around their energies. He's been very open and honest with the struggle because it's literally painful. So going back to one of the other questions, talking about how literally painful it is. But again, there is a bigger goal for the individual soul to learn how to still be amongst it without the effect, and you gain immunity to some of that. Now, in the manifestation of a co-creation and what you're trying to do, you have to give consideration that it now will only come from within you, that you are now creating the higher vibration that instead of is requiring these people not to be stupid anymore so that they can send their waves of energy to you so you can now be happy, that your happiness is going to come when you learn to have the stronger torsion field of energy leave you that now affects their energy fields in a way that your environment begins to change, and your happiness is now the effect of you gaining better control of an environment around you in the simplicity of life that you were just saying you wanted. So again, we talked about the grocery store earlier. It's kind of interesting. There seems to be a theme of questions going on. We just talked about the grocery store before, and how, you may go in there with just a mission, and how to create an environment so that maybe you don't want to interact with the fact that people are coming towards your energies to more disrupt you. But how does your energies now flow from you to gain yourself a better strength? My intention is I don't want to deal with this today. However, I am aware of people around me, and I could see somebody that I feel really looks down, and I want to say something kind to them, irregardless of how they answer me back. It's my energies. Or I just smile at somebody. I may choose to lift my head and smile at them today. Or again, I may not at work get involved with very controversial topics, because again, we've also said over and over again, many people aren't ready to hear this. And do we actually have a right to push our stuff on them? We want to push our stuff on them at times. It's a normal human response, because we want them to change, to now send the energies that are more nurturing to us our way. Do you see what I mean? That's not how this is going to work. And so, again, where you are, and most people now listening to this are open to the conversation that I actually am a co-creative being, and that I actually am, then where we are, a lot of us in this process, is in that understanding, what does that actually mean, and how do I co-create better? Again, this becomes a moment of deny the known and manifest differently. It is easy to blame everyone else, and they need to change to put the energies in place that are going to come and make me feel better. That is the old way of thinking. That is why wars were fought. That is why all of this stuff happened, to make everyone else change, right? In a more direct physical, since maybe you didn't have your co-creation down really good, that you're going to do it in a more physical way. Get them out of the way. I wish they were all dead. Okay. They're interfering with us, right? And that's been humanity for all this time. But you have to ponder and consider, again, where should I be getting my source material? Which we are always saying, you better go back up to the library, that big library, that is you. That's the most trustworthy source. You're brilliant. You're amazing. You know a lot. Let that be your way of, really bringing in, and then bring in the energies as well. But that's going to require, again, you sending out the energies that people will respond to. And the goal is, if you want to send out the energies, you know what I mean, of having people that are just kind to one another, then be kind and put out the energies of, this is the experience I want to have. I'm going to show what it means to be kind. I am going to, acknowledge when I see, and be brave to acknowledge if I see someone suffering who may need an ear. It's going to be, I am going to demonstrate what that looks like by my own personal behaviors. Right now, what's happening to a lot of energy sensitives is that they're barricading themselves in, and they're becoming a hermit, because the true desire, the easy way out of this, is to get them to either not exist anymore, or for them to magically change, to send you now the energies so that you feel good in. And some people have set that as the only standard, the only way out, the only way of being, because that's what we've been taught over and over and over and over and over again. You have to deny the known, and you have to accept, if you are a co-creative being, and going along with what Isaac said about being the stronger torsion force, what is it you want the energy to be that you are bringing out? That I hate all of you and you're just going to get all the hate back? Or that, I desire peace today. I desire calm today. I desire that. I am going to, bring that energy out of me. I want kindness today, right? And you start it within the small field that you're in, but you're not going to be, if you want kindness, be a criticizing, judgmental person, because you then will not be what you're saying you want. So you have, as hard as this is to hear, really, it is a challenge for us to grow. It is the challenge for us to recognize our co-creative abilities, for us to recognize how to create a strong torsion field. And if you can bring that desire and some of your own personal higher self in, you feel like a much bigger person. You feel it. You feel stronger. You feel bigger. What then do you want? Because you are going to yourself have to bring those energies, and you're going to have to be what you want. And then you're telling the universe. So you can't occupy a space of I want peace and I want harmony when you're actually also occupying the space of I hate everybody and I want half this world to die because they're bothering me.
That's the end little policy, folks, right there. Because he wanted to drown everybody because they were too noisy.
But I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that we've perfected it. This is hard stuff. This is hard stuff. This is like the masterclass of masterclasses, but it's where we are in our learning. So there is now taking personal responsibility, pondering this and saying, how do I energetically be a stronger torsion field with saying this is the energy that needs to now radiate within the office, radiate within my home. How do you now do that? Because it will affect the others. If people don't like being in it, like in an office, you'll see people leave. But you claim now the space to be working your energetics within, because there's been plenty of people that have claimed the space and they're working very strong energetics to drive everyone crazy. So again, think about it a little. I know it's challenging. The next question, this particular person is letting us know where they live in an area of Prescott. And they basically are asking, is it a good energy there? Do elements like it? Can you tell me more about it?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's you can mention it. It's a fairly vast area. So it's the Granite Dells area of Prescott. It's just where all these large rocks are. It's essentially a large rocky area. So we can talk about that. I'll just edit a little bit of what I wrote here. I myself have been through there many times and can honestly say that the energy is up and down. I feel because it is being fought over construction-wise, as well as some of Prescott's past history. Overall, though, it does not seem bad. I feel a lot of Native American Indian residual and presence there. Same goes for where my mother and my stepfather lived, part of Prescott. As for elementals liking it, I feel they do, but we saw a house listed there that fairies were all over the place there. This is all I know about it. If we learn more, I will speak about it in the next Q&A. All right, we can go on to this next one. Oh, this is a long one. Okay. Okay.
Is it next to impossible to manifest what you need, like the need to be happy? We're continuing with the same conversation. Mm-hmm. If your vibration is too low, I'm a former targeted individual, SSP vet, and work 44 hours a week, and that wears me out. So I work and sleep extra time, and energy is for decompressing, and and doing chores like laundry and cleaning. I'm so tired of grounding and asking for assistance from guys in Galaxy family.
Or Galactic family. Yeah.
Or excuse me, Galactic family. I don't experience any tangible help or improvement. Any comment for Isaac or anyone? I sometimes wonder that it's easier to go catatonic and not deal with the perceived lack of tangible help. That way, it's much easier to deal with all the disappointment if you're catatonic. Of course, I probably am getting tangible help because I haven't died or gotten into a fatal accident like Christopher.
Okay. Hi, dear. Isaac here to tell you, like I said above, that you must try extra hard to manifest, especially with that hamster wheel in place. You do get help, but we too are at war and can only do so much to help. The treaties are loosening a bit, but like I've told Chris here, but to accept a catatonic state and have it much easier to deal with all the disappointment. If you're catatonic, is no way to live. Take time away from the grind in your heart. Know that the work PTSD is hard. Chris here is the same way, as are many others that let their soul light die a little each day for the sake of the daily grind. This is no way to live. In your heart and in your mind, be more at peace with yourself and take your inner demons from the SSP for a ride. meaning kill them by taking a drive that is unplanned and time unwasted. Time is never wasted in the heart, only the logical mind combined with PTSD of the workforce. You were always ordered to fill your time with work there. Therefore, all time for you is filled with work here that you neither like nor want to do. You had no free time there, so none exists here, unless you force the issue by letting yourself out every now and again. The chains are broken. Always see them as such. Please then tell Chris here how you did it. Yeah, thank you, Isaac. He not kidding, Chris. He former TI, always. Bye now. And this goes back to what we were just speaking about a little while ago. I don't know if you want to add to that at all.
Well, it's hard because, I'm just going to say this, because I'm also in the same boat. And I will tell you this, one of the most frustrating things that you have to deal with is a potential recognition that your time has never been up. So, that they, I know why people use the word aftercare. I can't stand it because it's just after overage and control. I know what, the agenda is. And again, as other people have even said involved in this, if you think you were somebody over there, you weren't. You would still be over there if you were somebody. We are slaves. We are, never out unless we pull ourselves out.
Mhm.
And we pull ourselves out by this spiritual, by part of this spiritual growth and understanding of how to co-create and manifest. This is how we learn to get out of it, by becoming, again, understanding how torsion fields are made and how to push our way out of it. And so you have to really understand, some of these principles, and then to continue work on the skills that we were just talking about. So I know it's hard because we live the same thing as well, but it's certainly what we're supposed to be doing, because as we learn to expand, then we also help others expand.
Okay. We do need to step on it here just a little bit. So we have to go into the last two questions here. Go ahead.
Where am I reading from? Just from this?
Yes.
Okay. It's very nice to hear from races who are native. She must be very beautiful to see. I wonder what their whole perspective is on the Earth experiment and the ancient history before the major colonization refuge.
Okay, this was going along with the Galactic Interstellar Council after show Live and the Ice Fairies. So this is who gave this answer. And then we got another question after this, and then we do have to stop for today. So my perspective on the experiment, this comes from Liv herself. My perspective on the experiment is this: nothing, and I mean nothing, is out of your control as a race and as a species. My perspective is that of a being here with all of you, seeing your pain and seeing your struggle and seeing that a lot of what is going on is oppression. Use and become the elementals within, and always know yourself more so than you do now. That is all for now. Blessings to you all. Live.
The next one, does the Isaac that's in human expression in the here and now have altars that are made to do not so good things? I believe you said you've seen Isaac in real life, but in the moment didn't know it was him. Did he know who you were in that moment?
Okay. This is actually interesting. Isaac here, my dear, to answer you on this. I have had altars, and I have had moments of being a not so nice person, some and all in between. We all have at some point been made or chose to make a bad choice that affected many other people. When Chris saw me, he did kind of know that it was me. I kept him at arm's length because of certain rules that existed then that are more loose now. I even showed him my Best Buy name tag, which I told people about many times, of which was a watcher assignment that I was temporarily posted to at that time. Any other encounter that he has had of me or recent others have been totally in disguise, and he did not realize until later that it was us. That is all for now, dear. Be seeing you. Bye. Okay. And yeah, he was referring to when I spotted him in a store from a distance, and he didn't want me to approach him. But there are also other alters and other times in his life that he was part of programs and experiments himself. And still is in some good respects. So I believe we can take this out here. So if you want to give a blessing of some sort, and we can.
Well,
take it
again,
out.
just we want to send out, extreme warmth and loving for your highest good. Ponder these things. Again, deny the known and manifest differently. Understand that that is where we are in our learning process, and we have not mastered it yet. Let's look to the inside of ourselves to find some of these answers, and understand that you have the strength of anything out there that you actually are looking to come in. You have it from within you. We are the people we've been waiting for to make some of these changes. And just as hard as it is, if you need to cry it out, get those negative energies out, and then, dust yourself off and work on your skills again. And the goal is you will see tangible proof of your own efforts that will then guide you to continue in your path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's very good. I hope you all enjoyed this this Q&A episode. I know it was quite long. We said it was going to be shorter, but it's almost 2 hours long.
We tried.
So we tried. So if you have any more questions, send them in. We will take them and create another Q&A. There's another script already in the works for another Q&A. So thank you everybody for watching us. Bye-bye now.
Hello. This is something that also belonged with the messages program that has come up recently. Obviously somebody didn't get that we needed it before we recorded the program. But this happened a few nights ago, and I was thinking, okay, this falls under the messages category, or false messages category, to an extent. I was in the middle of a weird dream sequence, which I don't really remember. I just know it was manipulation. And snapped out of it, woke up, and I automatically, as I was waking up, felt a push, and then heard the telltale noise that an insectoid would make if they're mad. It's like the equivalent to a growl. Like I was going, ugh. Yeah, it's like that. And they go, and it's this really weird groan type of noise. Normally they do when they click or they chirp like a cricket, but when they're communicating. But this was more like disgust. And it's very similar to when I encountered a physical insectoid. This is where I know it from, when we were at the other house. And the room was only slightly lit by my laptop light reflecting on a mirror. And in that I could see the silhouette of an insectoid. I was partially paralyzed, but I had enough strength to lay on my side going like that. And I slowly raised a middle finger to him and went, hey, asshole, fuck you. And I had the middle finger in its face. And I heard the noise, but enough also to feel his breath on my hand. Then I was able to snap out of it and chase him out of the room. This was very similar to where this particular insectoid made that noise. But what I didn't know was simultaneously, here goes the messages part, or synchronistic, false synchronistic part. You could fall under these categories. Joanna heard in her head, "Turn my body." And see, they like to issue mental commands to people. So saying "turn my body," meaning telling her to turn her body, trying to make her think it was her own thoughts. But she said she didn't hear it in her own voice. It was a male voice. So they were hoping they could disguise it as her own voice. Just like I said, when beings start communicating with you, you hear it in your own voice. I guess they thought she was a novice and would hear it in her own voice. And she heard it in theirs. immediately she's like, screw you, I'm not going to do that. So what she did is what they were wanting to do, see, is when I snapped out of the dream, I started to flip my back away from the wall and flip towards the wall a little bit. And at the same time, I heard the "heh." When she heard turn my body, she was back down. She was on her back, and she wasn't going to move. And they were mad because they need access to the back or the spine to not only gain spinal fluids but stem cells. So that's what they harvest. So they were obviously mad that neither the Dreamtime invasion or the mental command on the telepathic level or hypnotic level was obeyed. And I get the feeling there was more than one. I didn't see them, but they couldn't stand there very long. They had to have been using technology. We got too much stuff in here, like silver-based stuff. They can't be around silver. So it's like a werewolf. They can't be around silver. So just note, folks, that's the insectoids are highly allergic to silver and colloidal silver, just for future reference. They then hid, and later on that day, something cleared the energy as we were in a session we were doing the Law of One prayer, essentially. And we were also sweeping the house for anything. I was scouring, looking for something. I could feel it, but we felt the energy release once we were doing the Law of One and a few other things and audits and such like that. So in a session I did, that would have been yesterday. So felt that release, and it was quite. You could feel like the cork pop or the glass ceiling break. So they were evidently gone at that point. But yeah, sometimes I like to hide during the day or hibernate somewhere on the property if they want to hang around and try again. They'll stake the place out and try it again, but they don't get too many whacks at it. So they were more than likely trying to stay out of the house and hang out somewhere in like maybe a bubble or some kind of like cloak or shield like bubble. Think of it as in Lord of the Rings where Frodo and Sam cover themselves in that blanket, and they're made near Mordor, and they made themselves look like a rock. That's essentially what these guys do. They can be out like in a swamp or in a forest or in a neighborhood or something, and they can make themselves look like something with technology. They also have the predator warbling, where you see that's like the bent light. The technology. I've physically seen an insectoid walk past me that was surprised I could actually see through that warbling or see it. And it's no different than the movie Predator with him doing the click, 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 and then in the forest. It's very much the same thing, even though that was supposed to be something else. They open their mouth like that too. They have the like the Predator as well. So mantids do, and some of the beetle-like ones do. It's pretty gross, folks. But not to slam any of the good ones that are out there, but it's creepy. On that note, the presence is gone, and that this falls under the false messages category. In that way, both in the dream time, which the Forest people call them the dreaming bugs for a reason. That's where we got the whole Dreamtime invasion thing from to begin with. When we weren't here in the state yet, that's where we got the message for that from, was from the dreaming bug incidences out on the East Coast, because the East Coast is full of insectoid presences. So, along the waterways and everything. Full of them. Spiders are more so out here. They have some primordial-looking centipede spider-looking ones that kind of rear up like this out there as well. Primordial old Earth type ones that are out there that are in old nests that woke up after a while, around 2016 or 17 or so, and 18. But when we were out there in 16, 17, we found all that out there. We found mixed between mantid and centipede looking types out there that were more like almost like queen bee types that would birth a lot of eggs. That's like a queen bee version of mantid. There's also ones that look like horseshoe crabs that some baby mantid looking ones are birthed that way. They have the shell of like a horseshoe crab, and they have a bioluminescent glow to them, very much like the bioluminescent plankton that's out there. And some of that out there is some of their larvae. They can birth them in the ocean. So some of that's actually their larvae, folks. They've learned how to adapt to Earth pretty efficiently, even though their earlier incarnations and attempts to create mantid beings here resulted in our praying mantis and some of our beetle species that became more instinctual and animal-like and not intellectual like them. So that was a disappointment to them, but they found a way to birth some of their people here over a period of time. So with that said, I think I'll end that here. But they lose the horseshoe crab shell over a period of time. At least some types do. Some types still have kind of like this weird horseshoe crab looking thing. Or beetle look, but and then mantid look. But some of the mantids lose that shell. And a horseshoe crab kind of looks very similar to the way it looks. And if you were to pick one up and flip it over, it would glow blue if it was agitated, like the plankton. You just see this little larvae of like a insectoid, mantid looking being. Also back then, I had a dream where Chawanda of the ancient Mayan people was sitting on the beach with me and my mother, and I picked up what I thought was a horseshoe crab, and we were at night on the beach where all the bioluminescent plankton was coming in under the moonlight, and this was actually quite odd. Where you picked it up, and this being turned blue and was agitated and looked at me. And I went, ugh, and put it back down. I picked it up, and that's where I was being shown the origin of some of them that were on the East Coast. Here's another strange one. Another dream. This was something that was lost on the old computer. Before I go here, I'll add this one in. I had written it down, but it was on the computer. Whereas I had a dream where I was with a military team where we took the moon out of the sky and split it in half. And we shrunk it down to where it was small. We cracked it open, and the first thing that came out of the moon was an insectoid at the center of the moon. It was a very small one. I smacked it around a little bit, and then I put it over on a towel, and it eventually died. And there was also this rock-looking being I pulled out of there that was sitting injured over on a towel. And then I saw a family of these like rock-looking beings walking out of this split moon. And it's just also it's almost like they were rescued from this insectoid being. So what happened was this military team then was basically, they were all kind of high-fiving each other going, yeah, we did it, stuff like that. And they were being very congratulatory. And on the moon currently, there is, not only aside from the Nazis and the insectoids and reptilians and such, there is a good American base up there that is keeping watch on the other ones. Even though there's treaty and contractual stuff in place, they are kind of like a counterbalance. So there is good up there, and I believe this was related to that. I'll attach this video to that recording me and Ryan did, because it has to do with that military group. I understand that dream a little more in depth now. And the Earth was not worse for wear. When the moon was pulled away, we weren't as dependent on it as they keep saying. We weren't as dependent on it at all. It's like in the cartoon Dragon Ball Z when the character Piccolo blows the moon up to prevent character Gohan from transforming into this werewolf type creature. the Earth was no different. And this is how it was. It was like all the seasons were intact, everything was intact. So I'm thinking whatever they've told us about the moon, about keeping certain cycles in place, and we're dependent on it almost like a surrogate or a fake hip or like a limb that we're having to depend on. No, I don't think we're dependent on it at all, to tell you the truth. It's more like a lens beaming Saturn's and other planetary junk down here. And it's also a more of a weapon as well, weapon ship that is in need of repair. But it got locked in the geosynchronous orbit around the planet. But I don't believe the stories around some of it, because the Earth was not a desert beforehand. It was very lush. The galactics had made it that way. It was seeded that way. It was not dependent on the moon, folks. And back in, I believe, the 1500s, some monks reported the moon split in half and there was red stuff coming out of the inside. It was like somebody tried to split it and get rid of it and then had to quickly put it back together and repair it as best they could. I believe there was an invasion and a battle going on at that time, because in the Renaissance period in that time as well, the people reported battles going on over like Venice and all this other stuff. They drew pictures of battles going on. So I believe this is all inclusive, and I believe a battle went on. Somebody tried to destroy the moon ship and weren't completely successful. And some reptilians and such repaired it at that time as best they could. They more than likely just patched it together. But somebody obviously split it. Somebody obviously did the job. But in the dream sequence, we shrunk it down, and it's like we were able to open it like a flower bloom or like an egg, or it's like those plastic eggs you crack open. And it's like, I believe that's a function of it, but at the same time, they don't want that. They don't want it split open like that. I believe it has a certain function to it. You can crack it open or break the lock on it in some fashion, and break it. And it has like a hinge or something that holds it together. Or something that holds it together, like a lock. But you can break it open if need be to get inside. And this is what I saw in both those instances, and that was reported in, when I was looking back, I looked back in that time frame to see what happened. I did see it split open in a battle. So, we're not as dependent on the moon as they say. So I believe that that falls under insectoid as well, and false messages. That also falls under false messages, because years ago I saw Bugnassi, the insectoid that I would speak to. He said he was at the center of the moon along with his family, sitting in a command center that had this large computer that had people's names on it. Essentially, it was the soul trap, contractual garbage where all the people's codes and soul energies were saved. And that's why they always say avoid the moon when you die, because it's a trap for the soul, or a soul trap. So essentially it was an AI holding all those consciousnesses. I found out Hitler's consciousness is in that very computer at the center of the moon. And they can upload his consciousnness to a new body whenever, and I feel they've already done it, and he could be in a woman's body for all we know. I know he's still around. And the Nazis keep bringing him back. They also keep cloning their people all the time on the moon, like people that they revere, or heroes they revere on the moon. Different heroes or folk heroes. They like to do that. They do that quite a bit, actually, and it's happened here down on the Earth. This is also like what I said in that other recording about the false Jesus being cloned, and I'll add that at the end of this program as well. So I believe we're good now, and I believe Bugnassi's gone, and his family's gone. That's just a feeling that I have. And I discovered he was not too good. So we'll go here. It is 6:47 a.m. on Friday, October 22nd, 2021. Thank you. Okay. This is something that happened in the session I did where there was an autistic child involved in this. And I saw this in several other sessions where the Zeta Ebens are heavily invested in autistic children. And what is going on is they believe this is their experiment. And some people believe these are high vibrational children that have come in and it's messed up the genome. That's only partially true. They're holding the energetic space. And they can see in the spectrums others have suppressed. Now what happens is, a long time ago, the Anunnaki/Orions created slaves that were less intelligent. They were just stronger. And that's where you get some of the mentally handicapped people that are really strong, like really strong. That's where you get those disorders from. In this case, it's similar, but only they've combined their genes into those people to try to extract something back out and reinvigorate the intelligence and put it back. They're basically farming that from that individual. And the combination of genes also made the person a genius in one area, but depleted in another. That's what's causing some of that and the original Orion manipulation. And the Ebens think these people are their property because it's an experiment that's running. If you break the experiment, they sometimes will leave the person alone because they consider it a contaminated experiment. Just remember that, folks. The Ebens have been very pervasive in this area, and it's something that's happened over generations. That's what causes things like Down syndrome and all those things are alien intrusions and experiments where chromosomes are all messed up. And it's not natural. It's a disorder, of course, but also there's a higher artistic and scientific reasoning there as well within those people as well. So, ending recording here. 10:25 a.m. Wednesday, December 8th, 2021. Thank you. To add more to that, what I was just saying, with the hybridization, I know it's dark in here, the hybridization, where it caused the instability, which was autism, and the Ebens figured they could re-extract that DNA and rebalance it or balance it in him and then extract it. Either way, they were extracting it to put back into themselves. Our DNA makes them unstable. They go psychotic if it's combined wrong. Because they're experiencing emotions they're not used to, and they go stupid. And they can be even more dangerous, kind of like the Phoenix in Marvel. Whereas it combined with Jean Grey, and then the emotions were unstable. It wasn't able to handle human emotions. It was different. It got those codes and codexes and couldn't handle it. That's how these guys are. And they're trying to find other ways of farming the genes or creating different hybridization combinations. And that's what he was, a hybridization combination. And in some cases, they abandon the experiment if it's been tinkered with too much. I tend to disrupt it. They see it as a codex extraction. I see it as an invasion or breaking and entering, because this being followed this boy around everywhere like a guide or a handler. And that's what some guides are out there, folks. There are these aliens that are trying to keep tabs on you. Just remember that. There's no such thing as a spirit guide, nor is there such a thing as a guardian angel. Remember that. It's always these different beings. Now, there might be beings that act like a spirit guide or guardian angel, or they'll guide you somewhere, but there's not a spirit guide. There's no such thing. Guardian angel, an angel assigned to you. That's usually a demon assigned to somebody after a baptism. That's why it's important to revoke baptisms. And the demon assigned to you. But there's also these other beings that act like a guide that just want to monitor an experiment. And it's essentially what Simeon was to me. Not a main guide. There's no such thing as a main guide. I found that out. No main guide, nothing like that. It's just beings you've known in your soul history. That's all. Soul family. Soul history, you have an affinity for different beings like you would any humans. And some you don't. So it's like that. It's no different than with us. So, yeah, no such thing as a spirit guide, no such thing as a guardian angel. Handler? Yes, that's what that guy was. More of a handler handling the experiment. When he was gone, the activity will diminish. Unless they assign a new one. So I'll just end it here, 10:30 a.m. Wednesday, December 8th, 2021. Thank you. What I find interesting is that there was a comic strip of placed on one of these comic pages on Facebook that depicted Batman as a ghost. You know, he was long dead, and Wonder Woman was summoning him. And some of the comments were interesting by people, what they thought ghosts were. Some made fun and thought he was like a Jedi Force ghost and all this other stuff. Now, other people said intelligent things. Like, somebody said something they didn't even figure was a real thing. But it was. One person said, do ghosts run around in hospital gowns? Yes, they do. Run into that many times, especially during 2020. Especially during that year. We caught a few this year, but last year more. The time of this recording is 2021. But also, people were asking, why the hell, if he's a ghost, why is he dressed as Batman? And this is actually a very good point. And I think this belongs on a Q&A. Because you've heard Viking and me talking, he refers to himself as the Viking, not his name Randy. He doesn't have an affinity for Randy. Well, Bruce Wayne in the comics was the same thing. Whereas Bruce Wayne was the mask or the cover, and Batman was the real soul of the person. And always in the comics, when somebody asked who he was, Batman. He never referred to himself as Bruce. Even in his own head in the cartoon series, Batman Beyond is what I read here. He even referred to himself as Batman in his head. When he was an old man, he still did it. So, in one version of him. But I find that very interesting. Joanna refers to herself as Joanna Michaels. Her birth name is Jody Reber. You see that sometimes on the Zoom things. I have not changed this. I've not gone in and changed it to the lifting. But what happens is people have an affinity for a name other than the one they were born with, because that has to do with their own soul identity, their soul purpose here, or some dimensional identity they have an affinity with, or expressional identity they have more of an affinity with than they do this one. Any of those. And if people don't refer to you as that, sometimes that can irk you. In some fashion. So this, I think, will go on the Q&A. If anybody feels they have anything to add to this, let me know. But yeah, I found that very interesting that that's popped up many times about the character of Batman. And what's very interesting, there's been synchronicities that pop up about this. There are, you've heard on shows, Batgirl, Batman, Bat something has always popped up. Sometimes Isaac used it to say, like, the bat signal, there's danger, or there's a task ahead or something. But in this case, somebody was trying to tell me through a series of synchronicities, and I have 2 Batman t-shirts in the closet that sometimes the Galactics refer to. What they were doing was trying to direct me towards this concept, I believe. And this, I believe, is going to be on the Q&A because of the fact that this is a concept that pops up a lot often with people. If you don't have an affinity for your name, pick one. Nobody says you have to keep your birth name forever. If you have an affinity with an identity, in a costume or something like that, be that. If you have an affinity for some kind of cosplay, be that. If you have an affinity for no clothes at all, be that. It's up to you. And the name you choose with that is you. It's like the Batman concept. The name was him, not Bruce Wayne. The Bruce Wayne thing was more the cover. If you also saw different variations of Batman, Bruce Wayne, the Bruce Wayne was always the cover. He never acted like himself as Bruce Wayne. It was always Batman. So that's who he was. And if people want to cosplay as superheroes, that's who they are. So This has been a reoccurring synchronicity, but also a reoccurring thing in sessions where people didn't have an affinity for their own name and didn't know why. They thought they were being weird. They thought that something was wrong with them. It's not. You're reaching out to who you really are, and you're becoming who you really are. So I will leave it with that. I'll even insert some of the comic strip in here if I can find some of the comments. I'll put them in here as well. But I thought that was actually quite fascinating. So that this keeps coming up. So, all right. It's 8:30 a.m. Friday, December 10th, 2021. Thank you. Okay. I noticed something. This is actually quite interesting. It was about an unexplained episode about... Sorry, I have to get this close because of that. But... it was actually quite fascinating, where it was a story about the tornado that almost hit the house, but it destroyed everything around it. At first I questioned, okay, who was the family that lived in there and what was their bloodline? Was it a Cabal War thing? But they also came up with a concept, whereas a tornado can do this backtracking its own path as well. And we all know about the weather control and the Cabal warfare, use the hurricanes and the tornadoes against each other and destroy whole towns and cause false flags, and they cause the flooding, and they do the HARP activity in the air with chemtrailing. We know that part. But what gets me is they've had this stuff out so long, including that whole loop-de-looping tornado, where mainstream scientists and other little minor scientists will believe that that's normal behavior for weather patterns. And normal, this is this type of cloud or this type of cloud. Some are UFOs, some are weather control, and they believe in loop-de-looping tornadoes. Real weather can't do that. So it was just sweeping back along its path, you see. But the weather control, they need a waypoint to point it back towards. What they did is they just told the tornado to take its path back and go back the other way. So, and avoid that house, making it a godly thing. Because in the papers it said, God must have a plan for these people. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. Or it was a minor false flag to get people enthralled with the religious rhetoric. This is where I'm going with this. Even though it's great those people were saved, nobody's dead. No, it wasn't God that did it. It was somebody at a computer terminal that did it. Just acting like God, playing God. But they convince people that weather patterns can do certain things, and it's just normal mainstream. Just like with chemtrails, chem clouds, and the rippling effect of HARP. All considered to be normal because it's been around a while. People are accustomed to it. People are used to it. You can get used to anything. So, being around. Just like I've said, they try to get people used to behaving differently, like in mannerisms. And they're trying to get other people to be more like them. And that's not what you want either. But this is the same kind of concept, but external, with storms. And also with UFO patterns coming in, and being hidden in weather patterns. They're trying to get people used to seeing that. Also used to seeing UFOs, because it's a controlled narrative disclosure in that way. And knowing about different alien races, so they flood the airwaves. It's a form of disclosure. They have to tell you to make their tricks work, as we've said. So they just kind of let things fall into mainstream, and chips fall where they may. And that's where that fell under. So I will leave this because I'm getting tired, and this is the umpteenth download of the day. So 8:22 p.m. Friday, December 10th, 2021. Thank you. Okay, last one of the night. They were going into more or less on the weather control aspect. Two things. One, I think, was more of a controlled comet or ball of bacteria. That was the thing about the blood rain that's happened over the centuries. and they said a meteorite blew up over a certain island. And with that, the ancient people, even the Anunnaki and all of them, have been sending these round orbs down, stone orbs down, that would crack open like an egg and have certain bacteria in it. So if they shot one from orbit, it would explode. And meteorites do the same. Shoot it open, it explodes. Has certain bacteria, which then cause the blood rain. That's what I believe how they did it, and they were controlling certain bacteria that they wanted to grow here on the planet. That's also now how you have mushrooms that can actually eat garbage. So, and pollutants. You get stuff like that, and also scientists underground too, in labs. But somebody doing things like that. The other was the St. Louis Arch, whereas I believe it was more of a null, a weather null. So basically telling anybody that was doing weather control, you can't touch this city. Meaning it has to be somebody of great importance to a rival clan of some kind, or cabal royalty of some sort, because they call it the gateway to the West. So, with that said, it's got to be if some group of great importance is held up there. That's what that tells me, that it's untouchable, or it's a sanctuary city of some kind. A sanctuary city of some sort, whereas possibly there is a major base intersection or something they don't want destroyed. So they keep an arch null. Very much like I said, the ancient Garthans put up a null, several nulls on the Earth, so the Earth didn't go through a cataclysmic shift, just a slow one. I believe that's our equivalent to that. Some of the monoliths were that way too for the 5G stuff, but and you saw how that ended fast. But and transmitters of different magics and stuff. But the arch is a null, where it nullifies the storms. And so if something of importance is there, that'd be a clue. So it is 9:10 p.m. Friday, December 10th, 2021. Thank you.